is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Welcome to That Football Show on KC Sports Network, presented by our friends at Holiday Distillery in Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. I'm Tucker Franklin, as always, joined by Matt Verderame. Matty V, how are we doing this week?
We're doing good. We are recording this Wednesday morning, so we got the schedule release coming this evening. We have some leaks that I'm sure will come out throughout the day. We already know 3 of the Chiefs games, 2 of which were officially released by the NFL, and then 1 that was put out there by Jordan Schultz over the score. So the Chiefs are the team that we know the most games of at this point, so that kind of works out for us. Yeah. But I love the schedule release. I like to know the cadence of the season, see how things shake, and then also just make fun of the Monday night slate, which is always a steaming pile of shit. So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to the whole thing.
Look, I think on last week's episode, you and I had hypothesized about who could be the opening night game for the Chiefs. We were wrong. We both thought the Texans were going to be it. It does look like that the NFL wanted to maybe substitute the up-and-comer for something that is probably right away, like a matchup that they know that they can get returns on right away, which makes sense. Like the Ravens, I think that we tossed the Ravens out there too. Like I think that we said is really between the Texans and the Ravens. Thoughts on the Ravens opening up the season?
I mean, look, it's hard to argue with it. Like,
right.
It's a replay of the NFC title or AFC title game. I think what's interesting is everybody, at least from what I've seen to this point, they've talked about, well, man, Rashee Rice isn't going to play in that game in all likelihood, which is true. Right. But the Ravens are a vastly different team than they were a year ago. Like a much different team. And this has not been brought up. Like, in fact, I was watching a national show the other day, and they were like, man, the Ravens, same squad as last year. And I was like, have you been awake the last 2 months? They have a ton of turnover. 60% of their offensive line is different. Yep. They lost both of their starting guards and their starting right tackle. Odell Beckham is now in Miami. Obviously, at the running back position, I mean, they brought in Derrick Henry, so they're fine, but they lost J.K. Dobbins, they lost Gus Edwards. Keaton Mitchell may or may not be back at that point. He tore his ACL late last season. My guess is he's probably not in that game. So there's a lot of turnover. Then on defense, Patrick Queen is gone.
Yeah.
David Clowney is gone. Stone is gone. I mean, this is a team that is far different than what it was when they saw each other in January. And so, and also I should mention, I didn't even mention, Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, who is a whiz for them, is now the head coach in Seattle. So obviously he is gone. Right. Yeah. And this is not a group like up front. They're going to have a rookie right tackle. They're going to have question marks at guard with Ben Cleveland and Andrew Voorhees. Defensively, their edge rush now is Broderick Washington, Kyle Van Noy, and Odafe Owe. Like, there's real questions. Nate Wiggins is a first-round pick. He's a rookie corner who's going to start. Like, they have a lot of questions and a lot of new pieces they're trying to figure out. And so that is going to be fascinating to watch them try to figure it out at Arrowhead to open the season.
You mentioned it too. I think the biggest thing is it's a brand new defensive staff. Like, that whole staff is different. And that's going to be really interesting to see. Though I think the Pat Queen departure obviously is really big. I had mainly been focusing on like the defensive side of the ball, right? Like looking at their defense just because it is such a completely different defense. But you're right about the offensive line. Like they are changing a lot. And like, look at their receiver room. The receiver room is not that good.
Dave Flowers and 5 guys.
Yeah, they just had, I think, Rashad Bateman signed a contract to lock him in forever with them. But you're looking at Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Tylan Wallace, Tez Walker.
It's not good.
No, and like that's the thing, and like that's really cool that they got the corpse of Derrick Henry to play for them. Maybe that's me being unfair to Derrick Henry, but he's a little bit older than he was a couple of years ago when Dan Sorensen shut him down in the playoffs.
I don't know that I'd say it's just, the corpse of Derrick Henry, but I would say that I think it's a move that doesn't move the needle much for me. Like, and not because we're sitting here talking about the Chiefs and it's like, oh, well, it'd be great if it doesn't move the needle. They always have been able to run the ball.
Right.
Like, it's not like it'd be different for me if Baltimore's bugaboo was, hey, they can throw the ball all over the lot. but they can't run for crap. Like, okay, Derrick Henry coming in, even at a disadvantaged age, changes that.
Yeah.
They've always run the ball well. Their problem's not running the ball. Their problem's throwing the ball. And like, look, that's the thing. Baltimore, we can sit here and have this discussion a million ways to Sunday about who the Ravens are and what they, problems they present, all the rest of it. Just keep it real. Baltimore doesn't throw the ball well.
Right.
They don't. Like, and whenever you say that, people go absolutely berserk one way or the other. Either like you're a hater and you're not giving Lamar enough credit, or it's the other way. People are like, yeah, well, of course, he doesn't even throw the ball for 100 yards, which is ridiculous. Like, the reality is he's not a prolific thrower of the football. He's not, and he never has been. Like, you could argue about whether it's scheme, however you want to look at it. Lamar Jackson has never in his career thrown for 4,000 yards. Last year was his career high in passing yards. He threw for 3,678. That's like 12 games from Mahomes. Yep. Okay. He has never thrown, save for his MVP, his first MVP year, 2019, for 30 touchdowns. He threw for 36 that year. He was brilliant. He's never been a guy who throws for a huge volume. Now, to his credit, he's accurate. He doesn't turn the ball over very much.
Right.
He obviously is an incredible threat with his legs. All that's true. He's very economical. His yards per attempt are excellent, 7.7 for his career.
Yeah.
But he's not a volume pass. Like, he's not a guy who typically is going to throw for 300 yards a game. Just not. And against Kansas City, that tends to be a problem. If you can't go blow for blow with them, you're in pain. And that's where I do wonder about this game for Baltimore, especially with all the changes on defense.
Yeah. It's going to be a good matchup. I think it's the right move from the NFL to put them there, especially if they do put all this stock in the Texans being good. Maybe having that game later on in the season with some AFC seeding implications does make some sense. But look, the NFL loaded up that first 2 weeks for the Chiefs, but other games going on, because we're not just talking about the Chiefs here. We're talking about the rest of the NFL. Eagles-Packers in Brazil. That was announced a while ago. That they're going to be going on Friday. So the Chiefs will kick off on Thursday. The Friday, September the 6th, the Eagles and Packers will play in Brazil. Browns and Cowboys, I believe that is Tom Brady's broadcasting debut.
Yes.
September the 8th, that'll be a Sunday game and a Monday Night Football game for that week, for the week one action. So I believe we have I guess we don't have the Sunday Night Football game. Niners versus Jets will be the Monday Night Football game on September the 9th. On week 2, I thought this was interesting that we got the Chiefs week 2 matchup. The day after we got their week 1 matchup, we got their week 2 matchup. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, back-to-back home games for the Chiefs. I also think that that's interesting in terms of the scheduling of this. Back-to-back home games, back-to-back AFC rivals for this one. Thoughts on how the NFL stacked these two games?
I'm going to give you those thoughts in a second, but the Chiefs just had another game come out. They're playing on Christmas. Again. They will be at Pittsburgh on Netflix.
So that was actually real. So that tweet that came out yesterday.
Jordan Schultz has put that out there. Yes, this week was real. It's confirmed by Andrew Filippione, who initially reported out of Pittsburgh. December 25th, it is a Wednesday, which also means the Chiefs are playing the previous Saturday. So they will be on short rest for 2 consecutive weeks, and they'll have a long mini-bye into Week 18. But they are on the road, Heinz Field, December 25th, Wednesday, and the game can be seen only on Netflix.
I don't want this, Matt, to turn into because sometimes when we talk about this stuff, people are like, oh, you guys are complaining about your jobs. I'm not complaining about my job. Joshua Briscoe said this yesterday on Only Weird Games. I don't think when we say that we don't want the Chiefs to play on Christmas that you guys should think, oh, well, you guys are complaining you have to work on Christmas. I mean, I am. But I also, did you guys forget how they played last year on Christmas? It was not a very good football game. They ruined a lot of people's Christmas. I don't want to see that happen again. And they got to play Justin Fields in.
Russell Wilson or whoever, but
oh yeah,
does it matter?
It's going to be Justin Fields by week 7.
I think it will probably be Justin Fields. Yeah.
Week 7. I hate that. I don't like that.
Here's what I don't like about it, okay? I don't like the fact that it feels like the Chiefs, and listen, this is not unique to the Chiefs. Like, this is, the Patriots went through this too. Because they're such a great team, every streaming partner, every TV partner wants them in every big spot.
Right.
And the NFL is going to give them to them because it makes them the most money. It makes it the most attractive package. But what frustrates me now is like the Chiefs last year, as the year went on, they were constantly on short rest compared to the opponent. They were constantly in a spot
Right.
where they played with less rest days than the opponent. Now, in this case, to be fair, okay, so week 17 is the Christmas game. It's the 16th game. It's the 17th week.
Right.
They shouldn't be at a rest disadvantage here because they're playing week 16 on Christmas. Week 15, the NFL's already said it has to be a Saturday game. So that will mean that whoever they play will also, so you'll go Sunday week 14, Saturday week 15, and then week 16 is Christmas. Everybody's going to play those same. So you're not going to have any rest disadvantage. You're going to have short rest, but so is the other team you're playing.
Right.
So at least you have that. And then week 18, the last week of the year, if it matters, like you're probably going to have a big rest advantage. You're going to have an extra bunch of time off.
Yeah.
So in one way, it's not the worst thing. In the other way, like, man, you're making them at the end of the year play week 14 Sunday, week 15 Saturday, week 16 Wednesday. You are playing 3 games in 10 days.
Right.
11 days. 11 days. No. 10 days. 10 days. You're playing 3 games in 10 days in December.
Ugh.
I mean, that is rough. That is really rough. Now, it should be said, in fairness, that if they had played a Thursday night game, just a typical run-of-the-mill NFL Thursday night game in December, I mean, it'd be three games in 11 days, Man, I mean, it's a big ask. It's a big ask.
It is. It's one of those games that I saw that tweet come out yesterday, and I was hoping it wouldn't be a true leak, but apparently it is. Chiefs playing again. This is the second year in a row that the NFL has asked the Chiefs to play on Christmas Day. Last time they played on Christmas Day didn't quite go how a lot of people had hoped or anticipated. We'll see how it goes. But only on Netflix too. That's a big thing. Only on Netflix, streaming live. Netflix dipping their toe into the live sports game. I know that Netflix has the WWE contract coming up in 2025, and they want to do that live as well. So I think they're trying to do a whole lot of other live events, like doing like the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson boxing event. They did the live roast, obviously. Yeah. So they're trying to work out some bugs with some live events before they get the big stuff. But Christmas Day for the Chiefs. So we now know 4 games for the Chiefs, right? Is that
yes?
Right?
Because to get back to your original point, yes. So we know week 1 they are at home against the Raiders. We've talked about week 2 they're home against the Bengals. We'll get back to that there in a second. Week 7, October 20th, I believe it is. They're at San Francisco, and now we know the Christmas game, which is at Pittsburgh. Now the good news is, I will say this about the Christmas Day game. I'm going to go out on a ledge and say that the Chiefs are not going to play the way they played last Christmas. I think they will be amply motivated to not have that performance again. I mean, look, I know people probably don't care out there, but I'm just saying it. Like, I really do feel for everybody, though. Like, with the Chiefs, like, this is the second Christmas in a row. Like,
yeah.
You don't see your family. Now you're on the road for this game. You're not even home for Christmas.
Right.
And, like, all the beat writers and everybody else who's involved with this, like, here's an idea. How about not putting the fucking game on Christmas on a Wednesday? I mean, not for nothing. Like, why don't you just, I mean, at this point, the NFL should just put a game on Easter and see what happens. Like, hey, guys, listen, we're just going to squeeze, like, baseball does that shit where they're like, hey, look, we're going to put games in Japan to start the year, and then we're going to go back to spring training. And then why doesn't football say, listen, before OTAs, opening day, and then just slam a game, play the game in, like, Copenhagen on Easter, and just see what happens. But the bottom line is, this is the NFL, and if you're the Chiefs, you got to handle your business. Now back to the original question, which is the Ravens-Bengals start the year.
Yeah.
I kind of have a different take on this. I've seen from a lot of people. I think it's actually a real big benefit to Kansas City. Like, I know they're without Rice. I get all that. I got to be honest with you, man. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, okay, so the Ravens have a whole new defensive system they got to deal with, and a whole new offensive line.
Yep.
All these different things. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, that's great. I'll take them now over. I've always been a believer. I'd rather play good teams early than late. Mm-hmm. Because late, they're fighting for playoff spots, they're fighting for the division. Everything's like they're well tuned at that point. Early in the year, you're kind of scrolling with some stuff, trying to figure some things out. There's not that much urgency. If the Chiefs start the year 2-0, I mean, they immediately click off two of the toughest games on the schedule,
right? And
can sit there and then say, "Hey, we're in great position for the number one seed." I know that sounds weird after 2 weeks. But it's true. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, and by the way, the other part of this too, you get a mini bye playing the Bengals.
Right.
You get extra time off. They don't. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, that's great, man. Like, I get extra time off to play the Bengals. They're both at home. I don't have to travel the first couple weeks of the year. Like, to me, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm all for it, man. Like, I'd rather play those teams early, and I'd rather you get the Bengals with extra rest. Like, I actually think it works out really well for Kansas City.
I think that's the best way to think about it, too, because, like, they could realistically, in theory, if they do go 2-0, like, you have those tiebreakers then, too, that early on in the season. So you're rolling the rest of the year with the tiebreakers in mind that you have over two teams that you anticipate to be at the top of the race for the AFC. Now, they do play the Bills, I think. I think the Chiefs do play the Bills this year on the road. Yes, and I'm trying to look at any other AFC teams on the road. No, the Texans would be the only one at home. I think the only real contenders you could see for the number one seed. And if you're knocking off those two, the Ravens and the Bengals, weeks 1 and 2, you mentioned it, the Chiefs are going to be without Rashee Rice. The Chiefs will more than likely be without Charles Omenihu too. I don't anticipate him to come back that quick from an ACL surgery as much as he's tweeting about how he's going to be back. I would not anticipate that. I think that if they can get those wins, Joe Burrow, again, still working back from that wrist surgery, he's been cleared for everything except contact right now. It looks like he'll be on track to be back in July for training camp. That doesn't look like a worry for them, but I don't think that's nothing. Joe Burrow, that'll only be his second game back and after dealing with a pretty significant wrist injury.
They've also been really bad to start the year.
Yes,
they've been awful first month. Every year they've played it. By the way, I had this is going to be a show that probably gets hijacked a little bit as we do this because stuff's coming out.
Yeah.
Did you just see the Hard Knocks announcement that came out live while we're doing this? Hard Knocks off season, and it's with the Giants. The Giants who did nothing this off season. The Giants who sat there and lost Saquon Barkley and signed like Devin Singletary to replace him. They granted, okay, the Brian Burns move was like the one big thing they did.
Yeah.
Who the hell is watching this? Who's like, you know what we needed? We need to see more Joe Shane and how he's handling business during the UDFA scramble. Like who? Like I cover this for a living. I live and breathe football. Who cares? You kidding with this? I mean, I do wonder with football, is there at any point here where we just jump the shark a little bit? Like, do we ever get to a point? I feel like we're this close. We're this close.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's a point here where they're live streaming OTAs on NFL Network, or like Lifetime gets a game package, you know, like a factory of games. Although I will zag quickly. The one thing that I will say that cracks me up is people who are like, oh, the NFL is making me subscribe to Netflix. Like, bro, you already have Netflix. Just stop. Just stop. Okay? If you don't, you know what? You're going to enjoy it. It's fine. Like, and if you're a Chiefs fan in the local market, you're going to be able to see the game anyway. Okay? Which they proved on Peacock last year. Okay? I would imagine that'll be the case. And that if people tonight have Netflix, let's be real. Stop. Fine. Like, it's the idea that, like, you're being so unbelievably held over a barrel here. Like, I agree the NFL is greedy as hell. No one is arguing that. But like I've already seen like 3 people on Twitter, but this is unbelievable. Stop. Like, you have Netflix. Everyone has Netflix, please.
It's also very much believable that the NFL would do this. Like, I know it's not like an unbelievable thing.
And I'm just saying there are ways around it if need be.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and guess if you don't have Netflix, you probably know about 30 people who do. Like, it's okay. I think it'll be all right. So, yeah, but somebody also pointed out on my feed, this is the 3rd straight Christmas we have Russell Wilson.
Oh, no.
This might be a play to see if Jesus will actually come back. What is happening?
Is the NFL leading the war on Christmas? Is this what's happening now?
Brice Corey tweeted that out. Like, we're going to talk about that on Only Weird Games. Is it a war on Christmas? Like, oh God, don't go there. I mean, this is just, like if there's ever a segment for Fox News, right?
Oh my God.
I mean, that's it. But I don't know, man. I think the schedule from what we've gotten for the Chiefs, it's rumored that they're also hosting Black Friday against the Raiders.
No.
I mean,
what are we doing? What?
The Chiefs are hitting the bingo card for playing on every day of the week. Like, you got Sunday. Joe Buck already said they have 2 Monday night games.
Uh-huh.
They're playing a Wednesday game. They're already playing on Thursday. If they play on Black Friday, that's Friday. And they're playing the Saturday before Christmas. The Chiefs have hit bingo. The Chiefs have played every single week, the day of the week, except for Tuesday. And the only reason they haven't been put on Tuesday is because the NFL hasn't figured out a way to finesse that yet. That is the only reason. Like, it is ultimate bingo here. It's incredible.
It is. Incredible is a word to use to describe it, Matt. Yes. Let's take a break. I think we need a break to collect ourselves. International games came out. Chiefs not playing an international game this year. We'll talk about those and more leaks as they come out. Coming up next.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
Just refreshing the Twitter account here real quick before we go any further. Yeah, one of my favorite responses to the Tom Pelissero tweet about Hard Knocks offseason with the New York Giants was, "Oh, what the hell? We didn't ask for this." And I think that's just a great way to put it. Let's talk about some of the international games because, as we mentioned, Eagles, Packers, and Brazil, that'll be week 1. Jets and Vikings in London week 5. The Jags have 2 London games back-to-back weeks in week 6 and 7. They will be playing the Bears and the Patriots. And the Panthers are playing in Munich in week 10. They will be taking on the Giants. So last year, the NFL said, Germany, here's a really good football game.
Yes.
And this year they said, you don't get that again.
This might cause another world war.
It could.
Like, Germany might be like, you know what? Round 3. This is, now granted, if you're Germany, maybe round 3 is not the best idea after the way the first 2 rounds went.
That's fair.
Like, This might be like, it would be great. Does Germany, what do they have? Like a chancellor or a president? Germany has a president, right?
I think they have a president.
It'd be great if Germany's president just issued a statement just saying how disappointed that the country of Germany is with the United States. And I want like an actual diplomatic response from Germany.
Right.
That game is a tire fire.
Yeah.
I mean, plus that game, you got to factor in too, is on early Sunday morning because it's an international game. Who in God's name is getting up to watch that game? Especially November 10th. Like, they're already going to be garbage. Both those teams are going to be so far out of it at that point.
Yep.
Who in God's name is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. for Giants Panthers. I'm telling you right now, over at Sports Illustrated, don't expect robust coverage of that game. Okay? I'm going to wake up about middle of the third quarter and just slap 100 words together on it. That is a disgrace of a football game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Though I know that there was some buzz around the Chiefs maybe playing the Panthers because the Panthers were an away opponent for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I believe, have signed a contract to play at least 2 games in Germany. I don't know if that was consecutive years. I don't know if I was lied to about that. But they obviously are very big in Germany. The Chiefs are. And the Chiefs are on the forefront of spreading the game in Germany. They got the rights there. So I think a lot of people were like, oh, the Panthers are hosting a game there. The Panthers are an away team, so they started kind of drawing some conclusions there. Ultimately, doesn't happen. Maybe they could have put it on a Tuesday for the Chiefs if they did end up in Germany to just kind of make it totally weird for the Chiefs to get that full schedule bingo, but we'll see. I'm not totally disappointed the Chiefs didn't get a 9:30 a.m. kickoff Central Time, truthfully, because last time that was not incredibly fun, even though it was a good game.
So, the international slate this year, Eagles-Packers to start off in São Paulo in Brazil. Good game. Yeah. Interesting game, fun game. The Jags at this point should have to have like an English flag just affixed to their helmets or their jerseys or something because they just look over there.
Yeah.
But at least Jacksonville's like respectable now. Although, of course, they're drawing New England in one game, which is just a tire fire. And in the other game, escaping me real quick. Actually,
Bears.
Yes, they're playing the Bears, which okay, like Caleb Williams, okay, it's at least interesting.
Mm.
Minnesota and the Jets play Week 5 over in London. Okay, yeah, we'll see. J.J. McCarthy, kind of a wild card there, but like, okay.
Yep.
The Giants-Panthers game really is an affront to the rest of the world. There should be a UN Council meeting after that game. But I wonder, like, to kind of just, look, to have a jumping off point. I was with you. I thought maybe the Chiefs should go over there and play that game.
Yeah.
So now we know that game's in Carolina. It's in, they Charlotte. Right now, if you were an odds maker, what is the line for that game?
You got to go at like 13.5, right?
I think it's a bare minimum.
Yeah.
I think there's a world that game's like a 20-point line by the time they play it. Like, I really, like, if Bryce Young is what he was a year ago,
yeah,
there's a legitimate, honest to God world the Chiefs are laying like 20 and a half, probably on the road stuff. Let's go. I'll retract. Let's put it this way. I think there's a world that's 17 and a half.
Yeah.
Like something like, because I'm with you, I think right now, if you laid the line, it's probably like 13 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But if that game's like week 10 and the Chiefs are like 8-1, and Carolina looks like the last few years, like there's an absolute world here where it's just brutal. Like, remember when they played the Jets years ago at Arrowhead? That was that game Tommy Townsend threw that missile, the fake one. And the Chiefs were I believe they were laying 20 and a half in that game, and they still covered it easily. Like, I feel like that is on the board here. Not maybe 20 because it's a road game. If it was an Arrowhead, it might be that. But It could easily be like 17 and change. What game that we haven't seen announced for Kansas City are you most looking forward to seeing where it is? Not where it is. We know where it is. But when it is, how it slots in.
I think it's Buffalo. It's either Buffalo or the Texans, just because like the Texans, like if they're really, like I mentioned at the top of the show, if the NFL really has faith in them being the upstart contender that they want to be, they'll put it late in the year. I do think so, especially since the NFL front loaded that schedule really heavy with the AFC, or that'd be AFC North teams. I think that the Bills will come a little bit later in the season. Like that'll be I was going to say the first time they've been in Buffalo in a while, but they were in there for the playoffs. And they did. The last regular season game, I think they were there, was the Clyde game where he weirdly ran for like 200 yards or something like that, and it was like super rainy. That was a weird game. But that one I'm pretty interested in. Truthfully, where do they put the Falcons, man? Like, where do you throw the Falcons in there? Like, they've got a pretty decent schedule. When you're starting to look at all these teams, like, they've got like the Saints, they've got the Falcons, the Panthers. Like, if you can spread those out and get yourself some light weeks in here, in between some of these tough ones, like, that's ideal.
I honestly, I said this one, God, it was been a couple months ago. I think their schedule in terms of who they play is not that hard this year.
No,
have seen people argue the other way. And I'm like, who's that difficult? They get the Bengals and the Ravens and the Texans. They're arguing all at home. Every one of those games at home. I will go ahead and say they should beat the Bills. I don't care the games on the road. I don't care. They're better than Buffalo. Like, Buffalo at this point, if you look at the Bills roster, which players on that team would you classify as great players? Like, all pro-level players. Josh Allen and Matt Milano.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Deion Dawkins. Like, you really want to kind of stretch it? I don't know. Like, maybe Deion Dawkins. The rest of them, Kincaid may get there. Cook's a good running back, but they don't. It's not like you look at the Bills now and go, oh my God. And I should throw Teron Johnson. He made all pro. They have like 3 to 4 players on that entire roster who you're like, that guy is a great player. Maybe Kincaid gets to that level. We'll see. Like, Ed Oliver's a good player. Ed Oliver's not dominant. You know, Gregory Rousseau is a good player. He's not dominant. Rasul Douglas, like, they're fine. They're a good team. I, by the way, still think they're going to win their division.
Yeah.
The Chiefs should beat that team. Like, so you got the 3 home games and the Niners, who the Chiefs, by the way, beat every time they play them.
Right.
But, like, okay, that's 4 games. If you even want to toss Buffalo in there, I'll hear it. 5 out of 17 games. The rest of the games are 6 divisional games, so they're better than all 3 of those teams by a mile. And if I got to listen to one more person talk to me about the Chargers are going to make some run this year because of Harbaugh, they have you and me at receiver. Okay? Like, give me a break. Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, so you got those 6 games. You have the entire NFC South, who the Chiefs should be all 4 of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Cleveland and Pittsburgh, who have no quarterbacks. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, 12 of Kansas City's 17 games are games you are going to look at and go, as long as the Chiefs have remote health,
yeah,
they're able to win those games. Those games are not that difficult.
I don't think that the Chiefs should be not favored in any of these games. Like, I think the Chiefs should be favored in every single one of these games.
The 12 I mentioned, or every single game they play?
Every single game they play. I think they're already opened at 3-point favorites against the Ravens. Having the Bengals at home, I think, also helps that line in terms of they could be a 1 point. I don't know what the line is. I haven't looked at the line. But, like, I feel like that they'll be favored in that game. But, man, look at it. I could see them being not favored against the Niners, I guess. I could see them being dogs against the Niners.
That's the only game. That was the only one I was thinking about. I'm like, I don't know if that's... By the way, it says there's a word out there that the Chiefs Week 3 game at Atlanta.
Well, that's good. At least they got a bye week early.
Okay, Cousins, maybe Penix.
Maybe Penix at that point. Yeah.
We'll see. Granted, this has been reported by Zach Klein of WSB Channel 2 in Atlanta, ABC. So take that for its worth. But he says, I'm hearing from sources around the league, the first road game for the Falcons will be week 2, Monday night, which means they get a short week going to play the Chiefs, if that is accurate. They'll play Monday night at Philly and then come home and play Kansas City. So if that is accurate,
the first road game for the Chiefs will be at Atlanta week 3, according to
Zach Klein. And if that is accurate, the Chiefs will have an nice little rest advantage, as Atlanta will have to travel for a Monday night game and then come home. So they will be short a few days of preparation and rest. And the Chiefs will have an extra day of rest. And the Chiefs prior to that will have 3 days extra rest against Cincinnati.
That's true.
So hopefully that is true for the Chiefs. That would work out beautifully.
Yeah, that would be great for the Chiefs if they did have those 3 games. I'm trying to scan anything else here in terms of Chiefs games that we have. I don't think we've missed anything. Still pretty bummed out about the Christmas Day game, truthfully.
It's like, all I want to do is relax, man. I just want to sit there and enjoy Christmas. And the NFL was like, fuck you, Verderame. Guess what? Right down the old pipe. Here it comes. Just we're gonna cram the game down your throat.
And you have to watch Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's right. Now here's the plus side. It could be hilarious.
It could.
There's a world here where Russell Wilson throws for like 170 yards and 40 attempts, and Steeler fans are just furious. Like but the one downside is, with Tomlin, they're going to be like fighting for a playoff spot.
right?
They will just inevitably be like 8-7, and it's a death match to try to make the playoffs. Now, there is one thing, if you want to look sunny side of this. If the Chiefs can clinch the number 1 seed in that game,
It's true.
and they win, if I'm doing the math correct, so that would mean you get the extra 4 days to Sunday, you'd have another. The Chiefs would, at a bare minimum, go to the divisional round with 24 days of rest for their starters.
That's not nothing.
That, I mean, like, hey, Trav, go to a couple concerts. Don't worry about it. We're good. Everybody takes 2 weeks off. Like, maybe Andy just lets Nagy coach week 18.
Yeah.
Goes to the Bahamas, takes an all-inclusive staycation. Nah, that down at a resort.
Let the kids play,
Yeah, I mean, what the hell? Just let Carson Wentz go out there and ramp up his trade value.
Get a second rounder for him.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm looking at the games that the Chiefs have that they have announced. It looks like they have one. It doesn't look like the Niners game. Is that a primetime game?
No, it's not. It's 4:25, I believe.
Okay, so we're looking at right now only one game. I guess maybe Christmas is considered the primetime game. 2 primetime games. Do you think the Chiefs max out their schedule in terms of primetime games?
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
That's sad.
There's a 0% chance anybody plays more primetime games than the Chiefs. 0.
As a stan of noon games, it's been a sad era for me. I really love me a good noon game. Maybe it's nostalgic for me, right? Because I grew up with the Chiefs always playing at noon, so I always hold that noon time slot.
There's a reason.
Right. And then as I got older, I realized why they were playing at noon, because no one wanted to see them. But I just hold that noon time slot near and dear to my heart. I guess maybe an easier question is, or maybe a more fun question to discuss is, how many noon games do you think they have? Over, under 2.5?
All right, so let's work through this. So let's say you've got so we know you got the Christmas game.
Yep.
Bengals and Ravens, we know, are either primetime or late game.
Mm-hmm.
Niners are a late game.
Mm-hmm.
If we get Black Friday, as has been reported, that's a game that's not a noon kick on Sunday. So that's 5. Off the bat, all your divisional road games are all late kicks because they're all West Coast games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 8 games. So that leaves us with Cleveland, Buffalo. Buffalo's not going to be an early game. So you click that right off. So Cleveland, the three divisional games at home. Houston, but that's not going to be an early game.
Correct.
And then the entire NFC South, which really might fulfill your destiny.
Yeah.
So we got 8 contenders. Here's my guess. Carolina is a noon game to the hilt.
Uh-huh.
I think that Atlanta feels like a noon kick, does it not?
Yeah, but I don't know if they can go Monday Night Football to a noon kick.
Oh, I think they can absolutely do that. Oh, yeah.
Do you think the NFL would do that?
Yes. The Giants do it every year 5 times. Look, I think I'll say the Browns that game feels like one of those Monday night games.
Yeah.
That feels like one of those, like, hey, it's Cleveland week 9, and like Kelsey gets to go home and goes for like 200 yards in a quarter.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I will say,
oh yeah, one of these. The Texans game is probably the home Monday night game, because if we're going off the fact that they have 2 Monday night games.
Yeah, but Monday night's so weird now, man. Like it's probably like some bullshit game against like Denver, or like the Chargers. I will guess that they will not play an early game against their divisional opponents.
I think that's probably fair.
I will say that you will get 0 noon kicks against an AFC opponent. I think you will get one against Carolina. I think you will get one against. I think you're going to get 2. Carolina and one of the other three teams, and then we're going to get some ridiculous like Derek Carr and like 425. Plus, don't forget too, they're going to be on Sunday Night Football like what, 3 times?
That's true.
That hasn't even come out yet. Like we don't know the hell they're playing on Sunday Night Football yet.
That's true.
Thursday
Night Football too.
Yeah, Jesus, God, there it is. I don't mind it. I like the late afternoon kicks because you get the bulk of the early games, and I can watch all the early games. Plus, for me, selfishly, I'm writing on all those games, so that kind of just sit there and watch. Because like the other part of it too is like let's say the Chiefs play the Bills 425. Who else is playing? Like, the Cardinals are at home,
right?
The Raiders are hosting Denver. You're like, it's okay, it's fine. Like I can just focus on the Chiefs. Whereas when they play at noon, I'm like trying to look all over the place.
Right.
So something to consider.
Yeah, it's I think that, look, this show, I know we're 41 minutes into the show now, but like this show is very for a specific group of people who do care about the schedule release and then the order of the games that they go. But look, we'll have you covered here at KC Sports Network as the schedule comes out. The KC Laboratory will be live at 8 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Central Time. I don't know why all of a sudden it's flipped us Eastern Time. That was weird. The God's time, 8 p.m. God's time and Central Time, Arrowhead Time. We'll be live breaking down the schedule release as well. Matt, I appreciate you hopping on here and breaking down the leaks as they come in. We had some breaking news. Appreciate everyone listening. I know that this podcast might not have the longest of shelf life, and we recognize that. But look, you can just go back and you can say these guys are idiots. We didn't have any primetime games, and these guys thought
that's not going to be the case.
These guys thought we were going to have all primetime games, and that we didn't have any. That would be wild. But anyway, any final thoughts, Matt?
I look forward to seeing the whole schedule. I do.
Yeah.
It's fun. I will also tell people, like, the one thing, please, like, I'm not telling anybody how to root for the team. Please don't be the guy who's like, this is all disappointing to beat the Chiefs. Like, believe me, the NFL, if they could have it their way, if they could pick one team to be in the Super Bowl this year, it's them.
Yeah.
Like, if there's any NFL team that Goodell would be like them in this, it's the Chiefs. Okay, Mahomes, Taylor Swift, a three-peat. Like, believe me, if there's a call in mid-January that's kind of like, the Chiefs probably are getting it. So, like, they're not trying to screw the Chiefs. They're trying to make the most money they can possibly make for themselves, which is slapping them in every single primetime slot. And I will tell you this, as much as it sucks in some ways, for travel and for watching the games, I get it. Be thankful. Because believe me, there's going to come a time when they're never in primetime because they suck. So soak it in. Enjoy it. And be like Tucker and I and drink heavily on Christmas. And just accept the fact that we are all sitting down to watch Russell Wilson again ruin Christmas. It is truly a war on Christmas.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. That's going to do it for That Football Show, presented by Ben Holiday. Bottled in bond bourbon. You're going to need it on Christmas if you are watching Russell Wilson. For Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. We'll catch you guys next week when we know the full schedule and probably a lot more.